You think you'll always be told directly when attention is needed, but the truth is the most important signals are the ones that never get said. Thoughtful. And if you don't learn how to read them, you don't just miss a moment. You slowly lose connection without ever knowing why, because attention isn't always loud. Sometimes it shows up quietly, through presence, through tone, through the smallest shifts in behavior, a message that didn't need to be sent, a conversation that circles without purpose, a look that lingers just a second longer than usual. Pause. Most people ignore these moments because they seem insignificant, but they're not. They're invitations, not demands, not requests, just openings. And here's where most get it wrong. They wait for clarity. They wait for directness. They wait for words that will never come. If you've ever felt like you were missing something you couldn't explain, pause right now, because understanding this changes everything. Stay with this, because what comes next is what separates surface-level attention from real connection. Lives in the smallest shifts most people overlook. Energy changes before words ever do, and tone carries truth long before language catches up. A voice that becomes slightly softer, slower, or more deliberate is not random. It reflects a shift inward, a subtle opening that is testing emotional safety. Even written messages begin to feel different. They may stretch a little longer, carry a hint of warmth, or arrive with a rhythm that feels more intentional than usual. These are not accidents. They are quiet adjustments designed to invite closeness without demanding it. What makes this signal powerful is that it never forces attention. It only offers an opportunity to notice. And most miss it because they listen for clarity instead of feeling for change. The difference is almost invisible, but once you become aware of it, you realize that connection is always speaking, even in the quietest moments. Appears through increased presence that seems casual on the surface, but carries deeper intention underneath. It shows up as more frequent messages, more time spent around you, or more reasons, sometimes unnecessary ones, to stay connected. Conversations may not always have a clear purpose, yet they continue, stretching longer than they need to. This isn't coincidence or boredom. It's a subtle way of maintaining proximity without directly asking for it. People often create these moments to feel closer while avoiding vulnerability because asking outright can feel too exposed. So instead, they show up more often, hoping you'll recognize the pattern. The key detail is consistency. When presence becomes a little more regular, a little more intentional, it's signaling a desire to be noticed and valued. Many overlook this because they focus on what is being said rather than why it keeps happening. But repeated presence is rarely accidental. It's a quiet effort to build connection without words. Hides behind playful irritation and teasing, which often gets misread as attitude or mood rather than what it really is. Light challenges, small complaints, or joking resistance can be a way of creating emotional engagement without appearing vulnerable. It's a safe disguise because it allows expression without directly admitting a need for reassurance. The tone might feel slightly sharp, but never truly distant, carrying an undercurrent of warmth that reveals its real intention. These moments are designed to pull attention, to spark a reaction, to see if you lean in rather than pull away. What matters is not the words themselves, but the emotional texture behind them. When teasing becomes a pattern, it's often an indirect way of asking, "Are you still paying attention to me?" Many people respond defensively or dismiss it, missing the invitation completely. But when understood correctly, it becomes a doorway into deeper connection, where reassurance is given without ever being explicitly requested. Often the most misunderstood because it appears as distance, quietness, or withdrawal, which people quickly interpret as disinterest. In reality, it can be the opposite. When someone who was present becomes slightly less available, less expressive, or less responsive, it can be a subtle test of awareness rather than a loss of connection. This kind of silence carries weight. It's not empty, it's intentional. It creates space to see whether you notice the shift, whether you feel the absence without it being explained. The change is usually small at first, shorter replies, less initiation, a softer engagement, but emotionally it speaks loudly. It's a protective way of expressing need without risking direct rejection. Many miss this because they take it at face value and pull back as well, reinforcing the distance. but the signal isn't pushing away. It's quietly asking if you'll come closer without being told to do so. Appears through small bids for validation that seem ordinary but carry emotional weight beneath the surface. These moments often come disguised as simple questions, casual opinions, or shared thoughts that don't appear significant at first glance. It might be asking what you think about something minor, mentioning an achievement without emphasizing it, or subtly bringing attention to an effort that went unnoticed. On the surface, it feels like everyday conversation, but underneath, it's a quiet request to be seen, acknowledged, and appreciated. The key is that the validation isn't demanded. It's offered as an opportunity for you to notice and respond. Many people overlook this because they respond logically instead of emotionally, missing the deeper intention behind the interaction. When these small bids are consistently ignored, they don't stop. They just become quieter over time. But when they are recognized, even in subtle ways, they build a sense of emotional safety and strengthen connection without ever needing direct expression. Shows up through repetition of contact or proximity, and it rarely happens by accident. When someone consistently reaches out, lingers in the same space, or finds reasons to connect, it's usually intentional rather than coincidental. This repetition isn't about inconvenience or habit. It's a quiet way of saying, I want attention, but I'm not asking outright. Each return message, each check-in, each seemingly casual interaction is layered with meaning. It's a gentle push to be acknowledged, to be valued, to feel noticed. People who understand this recognize patterns in behavior rather than waiting for explicit statements. Repetition becomes a language of its own, signaling emotional need without creating pressure or overt vulnerability. Ignoring it often leads to disconnection because the opportunity to respond meaningfully passes unrecognized. The subtlety is what makes it powerful. It doesn't demand, it invites. Observing these repeated gestures carefully allows connection to deepen naturally, and responding to them thoughtfully builds trust and closeness in ways that words alone rarely achieve. The hidden signals of attention and affection are rarely shouted. They whisper. They appear in tone, presence, playful teasing, quiet withdrawal, small bids for validation, and repeated gestures. Each one is a doorway, an invitation to notice, to respond, to connect on a level deeper than words can reach. Most people miss them because they wait for clarity, for direct requests, or for obvious signs. But connection lives in the subtle, in the moments that almost go unnoticed. Learning to recognize and honor these signals transforms relationships, turning simple awareness into emotional intimacy. It's not about doing more or performing perfectly. It's about seeing what is already being offered, responding with presence, and valuing what is communicated without being said. Awareness of these hidden cues is the difference between surface interaction and meaningful connection, and those who notice them step into a space where trust, care, and attention flow naturally and effortlessly.